I almost forgot. All right. Okay, go ahead. So with Isogenics, we are a very compliant company. So everything you heard tonight, these are individual stories, and they're all possible for you. And that's what's so powerful, is that if I can do it, you can do it. If Janine can do it, you can do it. But each of our stories are our own. You're going to create your own story. And we're not here to guarantee you any kind of results, whether that's financial or physical or with your health. We're also not here to diagnose, treat, or prevent or cure. But we do know that when you're in the right environment around incredible people that have amazing resources and wisdom, you can get help. And we also know that when you flood your body with beautiful nutrition, your body becomes the miracle. And we've all seen that over and over and over again. And I hope that you believe that. All right, here we go. So next week, if you guys can check this out, I know William is on the call right now. I don't know if Craig or Rocky are on tonight, but we are so excited to have this men called next week. We don't have this opportunity very often. So I hope that not only will you invite all the men in your life, but that you will join us. I know their stories are inspiring, that they're very unique, coming from this male perspective. And it's not like it's just one guy showing up on this call full of women. It's 3 men with very individual and really cool stories. So make sure you invite those guys and that you guys come back next week. Same time, same station. All right. And with that being said, before I introduce Patricia, our resident doctor here tonight, I just wanted to share, this is a unique time to be on this call. And as I was preparing a little bit for tonight's call, knowing that we had some special stories tonight that might really move you and touch your heart, I thought about just the need that the world has right now for the solutions that we have. And I'm really, really grateful that we have Dr. Patricia Pellegrino on tonight to share her unique perspective and how it's helped her. I'm a mother of 4, and I love my children, and I joined, even though I joined Isogenics for my own health and for my own reasons, it was, of course, my next goal, or my, the next step on my to-do list was to help my family so that they have the best possible nutrition, the best possible chance to health, to energy, to a really beautiful, healthy future. And that's what Isogenics has given me. I'm also the aunt of 4 children with special needs, and I love my nieces and nephews, and I've been able to personally witness their experience as they've used this nutrition and how it's affected not only them, but their families, and how it's relieved the stress off of my sister, their mother, and it's been a really beautiful experience. So with Isogenics, it truly is about the art of well-being. It's not just weight loss, but it's so much more. So Dr. Patricia, if you could share your unique perspective and talk a little bit more about what I'm alluding to here.
Well, for starters, with the detoxing program and the Cleanse for Life, we have so many toxins in our bodies that we get from foods. Especially since we're talking about the kids, it's like their foods have the yellow dye, the red dye. There's so much chemicals in it. The high fructose corn syrup, all things that are bad for the liver. You can't, for what everyone's taking in, we can't detox enough to get it out. And it catches up because everyone says, oh, it's a little bit, it's not that much. It adds up. And before you know it, autoimmune diseases occur. All these things start happening. And then you wonder, why am I not recovering fast enough? Why am I not healing fast enough? I used to, but I'm not doing it anymore because you're too toxic. And kids, and what scares me the most with children is the glyphosate is in everything. And I've got little charts, I can post them later, but I'll just give you that for the moment. And it's basically showing after product science, when the stuff is on the shelves, they've gone in and to look how much glyphosate is in the food. And it's in there by parts per million or parts per billion. And it all adds up. Going into our special needs children, you got all the toxic metals from, I'm sorry to say, but yes, the vaccines. They do have some mercury, they have aluminum in it. Neither one of those are good for any of us. And aluminum, they say, yes, it's in there. It's not that much, but that's what's going to cause the immune response. But it adds up. Why do we have so much Alzheimer's? It adds up. Aluminum is the same thing for the adults. So it's like you got the kids on the one end and now you got the adults on the other end. How are we getting rid of these toxins? We need to cleanse. We need to detox. We got to get that stuff out of our bodies and then flood it with the good nutrition. Again, staying away from your processed foods, using our Isogenics products because they look for all that. They make sure there's no pesticides, the fungicides, any of that. They make sure none of that's in it. So you're just getting pure nutrition that's ready and absorbable by the body and helps it heal and restore. Because again, no medicines, nothing on the planet actually will heal the body. The body heals itself when it's given the proper tools and base nutrients. The body will take care of itself. Always has, always will. So that's what I got. Oh, one thing I wanted to share again. I forget how many years ago. It was a couple of years ago. There was a woman who shared her story about her son who was autistic. He was nonverbal, and she started to give him just a half a shake and 1 scoop of cleanse. Within 8 months, he was verbal. He started talking, and that is huge. She didn't change anything other than his diet, took out all the processed foods, brought in the Isogenics, and stuff changed. It took time, again, 8 months, and it's going to vary from person to person to person, but the possibilities are wonderful. So that's a huge story for me. I think that's nice to hear and see. Because if you can change somebody's life and add quality to it, that's huge. Because it's never always the quantity, it's the quality of what you have. So it's all about making that better and stronger.
I love that. Thank you, Patricia. And I think the key that really stuck out to me, I'd love to hear from you guys in the chat box, like what kind of resonated, was that it just adds up. You know, it's so easy for us to excuse or justify things away. And if you've been in Isogenics for a while, it's so easy to justify why you don't need a cleanse this week or next week or next month or this month. You know, it's so easy to justify, but it adds up, like she said. And that's the beauty of our system, is whether you're cleansing daily or weekly or monthly, you got to do it, because our bodies are constantly being introduced to toxins, pollutions, and everything else. So thank you for sharing that. I think that's really powerful. It's small things, right, that cause typically the most, whether it's good or bad. So I have the pleasure of introducing this beautiful, beautiful woman. Wow, my heart just kind of constricted a little bit. This woman and mother is just such an example of health and love and service in our community. She has literally given her entire life to her child, and is such an example to all of us on living your best life and trying every single day to do the very best you can for yourself, for others, and for your family, for your baby. So Janine, thank you so much for getting on tonight and sharing your story and your son's.
I am so honored to have been asked to talk, because Isogenics has changed our life for the better in so many ways. My son Andrew was diagnosed with autism when he was just 5 years old. We actually tried to have him diagnosed when he was 3, and they misdiagnosed him. He is nonverbal autistic. He also has sensory processing disorder. He also has a severe intellectual disability, but he is the coolest little kid out. My sister Bethany was the one that introduced me to Isogenics. She actually was introduced to it right when Andrew was diagnosed with his autism. And I had these blinders on that I had to do what all of the other autistic mothers were doing with diet and whatnot. So I really didn't want to hear too much about it, but I did sign up because I wanted to support my sister, but I never did it right. And my ex-husband was also my ex-husband for a reason. And he wasn't very supportive, to say the least. But fast forward 5 years and 2 international moves. We moved from South Carolina to New Zealand. Actually, where Andrew was born was in New Zealand, and then to Australia. And I was on the phone with my sister Bethany, complaining how sick and tired I was of feeling sick and tired all the time. Now, at this point, we were eating all organic, clean diet. I pressed my own juice. I went to the farmer's market every Saturday and bought all organic fruits and vegetables. We never ate fast food. We never ate frozen food, nothing processed, never drank soda. I mean, we were doing everything right, but still feeling like crap. And my husband actually had even more health complaints than I did. And the doctors could find nothing wrong with them. They said it's stress. You need to get the stress out of your life. And he's like, well, I'm not getting rid of my son, so we need to figure something out. So Bethany said, Janine, that's it. You and Graham and Andrew are all going to do Isagenix, and you're going to do it properly this time. And I said, okay. So I talked to my ex and I said, all right, we need to do this because we know Andrew's going to be with us for life. And if we don't take care of ourselves now, how the heck are we going to be able to take care of him 5, 10, 20 years down the line? We're falling apart. And at that point, we were just like 50 years old. Like, I think I was still only, well, yeah, I was 48 and he was 50. I'm like, we need to do something about this now. So he said, all right, it's got a money back guarantee. Just make sure you keep all of the canisters in case it doesn't work. I said, all right. So we ordered our products and we actually shared a pack. Sorry if you hear something, that's just Andrew vocalizing to Mickey Mouse in the room next door. He talks to Mickey Mouse all the time in a very loud voice. That's just him talking, don't worry. So we started, and Andrew at that point was 10 years old, and he stopped sleeping through the night when he was 6 months old. So you can imagine how exhausted I was. He was like a newborn baby, up and down all night long. And sometimes he'd get up and not go back down again. So I was exhausted. And after just a few days, he slept through the night for the first time in a decade. And so he slept through the night, I slept through the night, and I was just like, oh my gosh. It felt like I'd been plugged into a socket and my body turned back on again. And my brain fog lifted. I had this energy. I was like getting up and getting things done in the morning, where before I'd have to drink like a whole pot of coffee before I could even think about doing anything. I just came alive. And my husband, it took about a week, and he said to me, okay, you better get online and order more because we're going to run out next week. And it took a week for it to get here and we can't run out. So the biggest skeptic in the world turned into a true believer, and he still is to this day. I'm very grateful that he is, even though we're not together as a family. He still eats his Isagenix all the time. So from there, Andrew literally only, and to this day, still only eats a handful of foods, and mostly it's because of his sensory processing disorder. He has lots of issues with textures, and I was really worried that he wasn't going to like the shakes, but he loves the shakes. He literally will kiss the Isagenix box when it arrives because he knows what's inside of it. And he eats shakes, and I do so much with the Isolane shake. I don't just give him a shake. I add the greens. I make protein balls. I make protein pancakes. I make cupcakes. I do all sorts of different things to get this into his body, because besides Isagenix, the only thing he eats is eggs, hummus, and organic tortilla chips. That's pretty much it. So one thing I have learned is that it's not what you eat, but actually what your body absorbs. And the Isolane shake, having the prebiotics, the probiotics, and then the live digestive enzymes, which is that carrier unit to get all of that goodness, all of those vitamins and minerals into your body. Andrew literally went, when he was 10 years old, he was wearing size 5 clothing. He was so skinny and little and always sick. If he wasn't just getting better, he was just getting sick again. And since we started, and of course we can't claim to treat, prevent, cure any disease, but since we started, Andrew has never once been sick again in his life, not once. And this is a kid that was on antibiotics, I can't tell you how many times as a child. And it's funny because teachers will be like, oh, there's something going around the school. There's a really bad, virus going around. He'll get it sooner or later. I'm like, it just bounces off of him, literally bounces off of him. So our immune system being super strong is a beautiful thing. And another thing I like to do with the shakes is make icicles out of them, ice pops, I call them. And I have like a part of my freezer that is just for ice pops. And Andrew can go in there. He thinks he's getting a treat, but he's getting a very nutritious meal. I can make about 6 to a dozen, depending on how full I make them, ice pops out of just one shake. So Andrew drinks.
Janine, I think we lost your volume. There we go.
Am I there again? Okay.
You're good.
Sorry about that. He also eats the Ice of Delights every day. I put one in his lunchbox because they are brain food. And again, he thinks he's getting a treat, but he's actually getting something that's really good for him. The vitamins, of course, he loves his vitamins. And then the Cleanse for Life. And you saw that photo before, Trish, you might want to put that, I don't know if you can put that one up again. Andrew had eczema from head to toe, literally 4 years. There he was. It was the most horrible thing as a parent to see your child suffer. He would have blood on his pillowcase every morning from scratching. And we spent thousands of dollars on every single thing that we could find, going to specialists, nutritionalists, dietitians. Nothing worked for that poor little boy. And when we started giving him the Cleanse for Life, it just went away and has never come back again. I should have realized the skin is your largest organ, and that's where it was coming out. And we actually had done heavy metal testing on Andrew when he was very young, just 5 years old. And he had every single heavy metal poisoning there is. And say, for example, a normal level is between 1 and 10. Andrew's was like 150. It wasn't just high. It was like through the roof high. And, if people are like, well, how did he get heavy metal poisoning? And I, like Dr. Patricia said, it adds up and it adds up. And his little body was such a sponge, and he had no immune system whatsoever. So just driving down the road, if there was a car, diesel fumes, and boom, his body would suck it up. It's really sad, but it is very true. We all need to detox our bodies. And if we're not, you might not know it now, but down the road, it definitely will lead to some sort of health issue. There's no doubt about that. And something I wanted to talk about in the isoline shakes was, at the time we were living in Australia, and I was really worried about the lactose because Andrew is intolerant to casein, which is in milk. And we didn't have the dairy-free shakes in Australia yet. And Andrew tolerated them fine, no problem whatsoever. And I really think it's the way that the shakes are made in the undenatured process that he tolerated. And he still to this day drinks the regular isoline shakes with no problems whatsoever. So I love that. My favorite product, I just have to throw that out there, the Ionic Supreme. I don't think I could get through a day without it. And there's definitely, I go through more than the daily dose because I don't think any parent with a special needs child has no stress, but I surely can get through my day way easier. I call it liquid gold because it seriously is liquid gold. And then the other product that I really wanted to talk about was our CBD. When Andrew hit puberty, oh boy, the aggression started and I got so scared. And again, this is the most sweetest, gentle little boy on the planet. and he would, it was like Jekyll and Hyde. He would turn into the little Tasmanian devil at just like a drop of a hat. And I know it was puberty, all sorts of things going on, and also frustration from not being able to verbalize how he was feeling. And so it would come out in aggression. And both the CBD oil and the CBD patches that we have, he does both, and they help keep that aggression at bay. If he starts to get a little aggressive in any way, I just grab that bottle and I come at him, and he's like a little bird. He just opens up and let me stick that dropper in there and give him a CBD, because I know that it makes him feel good. And he takes anything that I give him, because everything that I have done makes him feel good. We have definitely been on a journey. I swear I have a PhD in autism. You can ask me anything about it. I think I've read like every book. I have attended every seminar. I've, belonged to like a dozen autism Facebook groups. Been there, done that. We've tried it all. And with Andrew, literally, we spent our life savings close to $500,000 is when I stopped counting the dollars that we were spending on him. But I do it again in a heartbeat. Don't get me wrong. But I have to say, of all of the things that we have done, Isagenix has made the biggest difference. Seriously, when we started with him, he was drinking half of a shake and he was taking a half a scoop of Cleanse for Life a day. That was all he was doing. But every single teacher, aide, and therapist saw a difference within just a week or so. They're like, what's going on with Andrew? He's listening. He's following direction. He isn't fidgeting anymore. He's actually engaging. We've got lots of great eye contact. He's, trying to play with other kids. They all saw a difference. And I've actually got lots of his therapists on the system because they saw it in Andrew. They're like, cognitively, he's growing. You're doing something different. And I didn't tell any of them when we started because I wanted to see if they were seeing a difference like I was, and they were. I absolutely love it. And he toilet trained. Again, I thought he was going to be in diapers for life. We worked with specialists. I read every book. I had every app, every single video. We did it all. We had a therapist in our home, and she would go to school as well, and she'd be with him. And we did that for like 8 months. Nothing. And it took a little while. I want to say it was like 4 to 6 weeks. I heard the toilet flush, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what's Andrew doing in there? And he's just standing there with his big smile on. He went to the bathroom all by himself. I was like, oh my gosh. I'm like, oh, it's a fluke. But then he did it again, and he did it again, and he did it again. And then I finally ditched the pull-ups, and I was so happy. They were not only expensive, they were like $1 a piece down there, but to have, this young boy, he wasn't a baby anymore, having to change his diaper all the time. Oh, it wasn't fun for either of us. So, such a blessing for him to be 100% toilet trained and not have to worry about him being in diapers for life. And then the last thing I would like to talk to you guys about is the compensation plan. Because when I started, I could not shut my mouth about Isagenix. I told complete strangers in the grocery store about Isagenix. You want to like scream it from the rooftops, because I saw what it was doing for my son. And literally, I told you how much money we spent. And this is food. I mean, this is food. This is not an extra expense at all. I'm going to eat no matter what.
Audio. Janine.
I'm making money. And now here I am, a few years down the line as a single mama, because Andrew is my full-time job. That's why, I tell people Andrew's my full-time job, and I do Isagenix in the pockets of my day. I might do it while I'm sitting in the waiting room when he's in therapy. Talking to other mothers at Special Olympics events, whatever it might be, I keep talking to people, because this is a gift. This is a gift of health that not only everybody on the planet should have it, but these kids with special needs, they deserve so much, because I don't know, they're special to me because of my son, but I know how much it helped him. And you just need to give it a try, and to be able to share that with others and know that you're going to help somebody just makes you feel so good at the end of the day, where I just I'm sorry, I get a little emotional about it. But yeah, so now I'm a single mama, and I'm able to have a really good life. And I know that Andrew's going to be well taken care of after I die, because I'm able to will my income to him. So I don't have to just rely on the state to have him in some home. He's going to have that income and have a really good life once I'm gone. So that's my story.
Thank you so much, Janine.
You're welcome.
I speak for everyone when I say that you really just filled our hearts, and we are so grateful to have heard your story. And your son is so blessed to have a mother who worked so hard to do the very, very best for him. And like I said in the chat, I know that you probably would reverse that and say that you're the one who's lucky and blessed, but you truly are an incredible woman. And I think the big thing for everybody here, as Anne-Marie and Greg get on right now to share their story, is a big part of this is the convenience of knowing that you have something handy, easy, convenient to give your children, that it takes no time to prep, no time to shop for. It comes straight to your house and it's ready. And what a blessing that, especially for Andrew, that the texture, that he actually enjoys it. And that's what I have heard across the board from so many of these families, is that it's something that their kids will actually eat. But unfortunately, having been to some conferences with kids with autism and different things, I supported my sister, I know there's not a ton of great options out there, and it takes a lot of work. So what a beautiful gift that you're sharing with the world, Janine, especially that community. So thank you so much. And Anne-Marie and Greg, we would love for you both to get on here and share your stories, and I will let you guys take it all the way to the end of the meeting.
Okay.
There you are.
Okay. That's one of the few family photos we have, because my husband works nights and sleeps during the days. But some of these photos, you can see Gregory smiling and goofing off. And that's such a joy to me, because he felt awful for so many years. He didn't know what it was to feel good, that we never saw his smile. And so as Janine was telling her story, I was getting emotional, and Greg reached over and held my hand. And that is such a gift to me, because until he started Isagenix, there was no hugging, kissing, or touching. If I begged, I could kiss the tip of his hair. So for him to realize that I'm emotional and wanting to comfort me is a huge thing. Gregory, for years, up until age 15, when we started Isagenix, he was bright, but he was failing school because he couldn't sit still and complete his work. There was no eye contact. He had no friends. Put him in the shower. He'd come out an hour later and forget to wash, still smelled like a boy. He didn't eat like 5 things they couldn't touch. It wasn't until later when he was able to tell us what was on his mind that it was not the food so much as the plate. The plate had flowers on it, and that really bothered him. And one place he didn't want to take a shower, and it was because the bath mat was purple and reminded him of being stung by jellyfish when we lived in Florida. So now he's able to verbalize his feelings. Sometimes it would take 6 months before something came out, what was going on with him. Today we went to, took someone to breakfast who has an adult daughter that's autistic, and she's in college. And I'm talking to this lady, and apparently I was waving my pen around, and Greg's like, Mom, that kind of bothers me. I don't feel safe with you with that pen. So that was nice for him to be able to verbalize to me. And one thing, we were always told that Gregory had dairy issues. Well, so I wasn't too sure about isogenics, but we tried it and we found out it wasn't the dairy, it was the pesticides and herbicides and stuff in the dairy products. He can drink anything organic. We started isogenics when he was 15 because this gal came up to me and said, I think I have something to help your son and you can lose some weight. And I'm like, I don't think I'll lose weight. I've tried everything, but what is this cleanse thing? Because we had heard about chelation. And at that time, it took 3 adults to hold Greg down to even get a blood sample. So we gave a whirl, and within a week, this guy was different. And at the state that we were introduced to isogenics, I had just quit my job. I was not functioning. All my life, I had a black cloud over my head. And when you are walking in not believing in yourself and not, my husband was good to me, but he was the only one that stuck by me. But I had a son, and I'm like, oh, I have a child. This child's going to love me. This child came out of my body, and this child didn't want to be held. And that was so hard for me. And just getting in trouble all the time for missing work because Gregory was sick all the time too. He had chronic ear infections, always on antibiotics, which now we know that those things destroy your gut health, which is linked to your brain. So all this stuff we're learning hindsight. And we recently had gene testing also that showed that he couldn't excrete the heavy metals and stuff on his own with his body, so he needed help. So all this stuff we learned hindsight. We did it the hard way. So when we were introduced to isogenics at that time, I was reading 1 to 2 books a night. I could not rest. I wasn't functioning. And Greg asked me a lot of stuff about him growing up and stuff. And there's so many blank spots because I would spend any free moment in bed. I just blanket over my head. I just could not deal anymore. So like the 4th day for me on isogenics, I woke up, it's like the sun was in my head. And I tell you what, that ionics, to this day, since 2006, I still do not like the taste of it, but I like what it does for me. And I tell myself, when I was young, I drank tequila and woke up with a band in my head in the next morning. And I don't get that band in my head from ionics. I get good stuff. So when we started isogenics, Greg was in high school. He had an IEP every year. That IEP got worse. No changes. We were going to the doctor all the time. No changes whatsoever. It was getting worse and worse and worse. So I decided we had started a new church, and to pull him out and put him in the church school. It was grades K through 12. There were 17 kids, 1 teacher, and it was a PACE program. And I spoke with the teacher and told her Greg couldn't sit still. He doesn't have friends. There's no eye contact. And he can't complete his work. Well, we started isogenics the end of July when school started. A couple weeks later, his teacher called me and said, those doctors you have are crazy. I don't know what's going on. Greg wound up sitting down that school year and jamming out 2 years in 1 year and getting straight A's. He had friends. He was interacting with the kids. Best of all, who's taking a shower and coming out clean. And then he used to be so black and white. Like if you asked me what time it was and I said, it's noon, it's like, Mom, it's 11:59. So I got joke books for him and showed him what jokes were like. And he wrote his own jokes. And if they were bad, I told him they were bad. This guy is so funny now. He he makes me laugh all the time. He's my best buddy to be around, and you don't know that he's real happy usually. Usually he's got a huge, big, cheesy smile, but this time of night he gets a little tired, and usually he's not around electronics this time of night either. So so he got going in school and doing really well, and come March they wanted to go to a youth conference. Greg had never been away from home. And I was really scared. I went to my pastor and I said, you need to watch him. He loses everything. He came back home and he didn't lose anything. He did really, really well. He took his isogenics and he didn't care if anyone laughed at him. He knew what he felt like and he was going to have his shakes. So after that, I agreed to let him go to the church camp. And he came home with this statue. I'm like, what's that for? And he's like, I don't know. So I called the other moms and they're like, it's camper of the week. I'm like, wow, it just amazed me. And then I had to rediscover who I was, because I was glued to him for so many years. I did not know what to do with myself. And I want to give a huge, huge shout out. Betty Logren, Patsy Day, and Kathy Nilsson, moms and daughters. Those people took me and loved on me and let me know that I'm just as good as everybody else. And the personal growth has been more for me than losing any weight that could ever be done. Because I'm not afraid to talk to people now. And isogenics, you know, when I had millionaires come up to me and know my name that weren't even financially linked to me, they had no agenda to talk to me. I'm not making them money. That just blew my mind. And Betty, who is one of the millionaires, I saw her cute little shoes one day and she said, what size do you wear? And I said, 7. She hands them to me. She tells me to put them on, said, you walk like me now. You walk like a millionaire. So that, you know, that just started making me understand that I'm no more and no less than anyone else. And that's helped me grow a lot. And it's helped me more with sharing. Greg, and part of the personal growth too is Team People Builders has done, was a millionaire mindset. And that helped Greg a lot, because there's a list of things that you go in and look at what's interesting to you, what's important to you. Well, one of them, Greg has a really good writing skills. And the millionaire mentors, they suggested Greg and I write our story. And I still get too emotional to do it right now, but I looked at Greg, and we've had, we moved into this house and we had a mouse problem, and he started just making jokes about it. And so I said, you know, if we write our story, you have to get that mouse story out of your head. So he just wrote a book called The Fall of the Mouse Mafia. And it's really fun. It's just getting edited right now. We'll have that printed. So he does that. And he is very strict with his day. First of all, isogenics all the way. He doesn't eat GMO or things that aren't organic. He drinks his water. He gets sunshine. He exercises. He is teaching himself keyboard, guitar, and Spanish. And he has his daily devotionals. He has his routine. And oh, this is the best part. I used to do everything. If I let go of wanting things done a certain way, he will do it for me. And often I watch him and he does it better than me. Every morning I get a shake in bed with my vitamins and my greens and stuff. I get up, he's taking care of the dishes, folded the laundry, put them away, takes out the trash, and he does this, and he's like, Mom, what else can I do for you? he's just an amazing gift. He's a miracle. And I know exactly, it's so wonderful to see Janine and see, you know, when you look back and see what's going on, what has happened in our lives. Greg went on a trip with his dad a couple weeks ago, and my friend came over, and it's like noon. I'm like, why am I so hungry? And it's like, oh, well, nobody made me a shake today. So, and then I realized I'm a messy person. I went through the kitchen and I walked back in. I'm like, oh, Greg, I guess cleans up after me. So he's just really wonderful, thoughtful, kind, considerate, and he's so passionate about Isogenics. One of my new products that I really like, I don't know which adaptogens in it, but in the BIA, that does something to me. I don't know what it is, but I'm happy. And
Me too.
yeah, so, and we pretty much have every product in our cabinet. Yeah, those E Plus, man, we used to go on trips and Greg can't drive, but he can do a backhoe. I would go on trips and I couldn't drive more than 4 or 5 hours. With E Plus, I drive up to 10 hours and can still sleep at night. I love them. Like I said, the BIA, it's calming to me for an energy drink. I don't know what is in that, but and the shakes twice a day, every day. And these new people make me laugh. I'm sorry, new people, but I laugh because they're like, there's not enough flavors. I'm like, we had 2 when we started and I didn't like one of them. So I had the same flavor twice a day for years. So Greg, are you okay to talk right now?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so I will be looking off my phone here quite a bit because I still need have a thing that I don't always remember words that I want to remember in the moment, but just to kind of give a picture of what I was and what I was like afterward. By 2006, I had assumed that, I was living off the food I was eating. It wasn't going to kill me, but it was really the eating junk food and stuff. It just bogged me down. And I just, but I was eating and I was having like intensive snacking sessions where I was just throwing some shredded cheese in a cold tortilla and just downing it one after one. And for me, a good part of eating better was I had to make the determination that I wasn't going to just eat based on what I thought the mouthfeel was or the taste and whatnot. And I'm actually higher functioning than a lot of autistic kids, but and so for me, there were a good part of the battle was just choosing to do the right thing for myself. But since we started Isogenics, just over time, my body has changed in what I crave, and I just feeling better. And now if I get my veggies in, and there are different foods when I eat out that if I did that, I avoid like corn and wheat in significant amounts, like junk meat and excessive sugar will all give me brain fog or just make me tired. And I since I began my journey in nutrients. I'm able to understand now really how to interact with others. Like my mom was talking about how I had to learn what a joke was beyond basically like words that sound alike or something like that. And I used to chatter mainly about like a few narrow sets of interests, whatever struck my fancy at the time. And right now, sometimes I'm a little slow to think of things to talk about, and still I still struggle sometimes with finding just the right time to start to pick up in a conversation. But I'm just I'm just getting how to be in a conversation and just find something to talk about in the moment. And when mom does have to take a break sometimes from the Mouse Mafia humor because that is pretty much a lot of what I talk about in the morning when my brain is still working up for the morning. And time limits used to really petrify me. I was told to do my times tables, and I just literally froze there. And it used to seem like in school that if there was an assignment where we picked partners, literally I turned around and everybody had a partner. It was weird. It just felt weird. Mom talked about me being able to that I used to not be able to get in the shower.
And now I can sit next to him.
Yeah, I finally started getting in the shower after I started my nutrient journey and actually washing in it and I'm taking care of my hygiene, no problem. And before my nutrient journey, I wasn't able to have chores. And again, mom was glued to me and had to get me to put on my socks and stuff like that in the morning. And it after some years of being on our nutrient journey, I was finally able to learn how to use a dishwasher. At first, I could only figure out how to unload a dishwasher, and then I learned how to load it after that, and then I learned how to hand wash, and then do it automatically, and that took years to do that. And so I would really encourage anyone just to keep at your health journey, and you will keep seeing fruit over time.
Another thing I forgot to mention was part of our training was a consistency chain, where
yes.
where you reach out to two people or speak with one person face to face every day. And Greg and I were doing that as a team for a while. He does better. He's been communicating better. I actually drive him to town and it's harder with the mask, but I have been stepping back and letting him take over that and be in the Facebook group and report that he has done his chain. And I have seen him blossom this year with that. The consistency chain can be anything you want, just doing it every day. It's obviously to help build the business, but his was a little bit different thing. His was learning to communicate, and he's getting so much better at it. Another thing I forgot to mention is chemicals. We removed chemicals from our home because we volunteered at the church to clean the church, and I handed him some Windex, and he just immediately got brain fog. And I'm like, that's a clue. So we removed our dryer sheets, air fresheners, everything like that, and in personal care items too. So those are another huge change for us. But for Greg to be able to go on that trip with my husband, that was huge, because they were never able to spend time together, because my husband couldn't pick up on his clues that he needed because he was either at work or he was sleeping, and he didn't know what was going on. And all I can say is Isagenix. Like, we had to have our kitchen remodeled when we first started, and I asked to put in more cupboards, and the guy knew me and goes, why do you want more cupboards? Because you don't cook. And I'm like, well, I need it for my Isagenix. And Isagenix is wonderful. I don't have to go to a store. There's very little dishwashing, and it's just easy. It's great. Well, Greg is great at KP. If you have an autistic kid, this is what's good about him. You go in the kitchen and they chop up the vegetables and everything just the same size, so they cook the same. Now me, I'm in there, I don't like the kitchen, and they're all different sizes, and it doesn't cook right, and I get frustrated, and it's my fault because I didn't cut them right. So he's learning to cook and just all sorts of stuff. And we did get him a little utility vehicle that he can ride around on our property. And it's in the shop right now, but that will help him do chores with us too.
That's awesome.
Wow, everybody. Janine, did you have a thought?
I did. Anna Marie made me think of something when she was talking about being all natural within the house. When Andrew was 5, he started school. Actually, he was only 3 at the time. It wasn't a preschool, but anyway, it was a brand new school in Hilton Head. And we were doing the rounds of chelation as well. We did 18 rounds with Andrew. And at his school, it being brand new, I don't know why, but they had carpet in the classrooms. And we would regularly test him for his heavy metals, like literally every month, to see what was going on in his body, to make sure that what we were doing was helping. And at one point, right after he started school, his nurse called me and she said, we got back Andrew's testing this month, and he's really high in antimony. And I said, antimony? I'd never heard of it before. And she's like, I did some research and it's in gunpowder. I'm like, gunpowder? Andrew's never been near a gun in his life. I never had at that point either. So I started doing some research, and the off-gassing from new carpet is antimony. So Andrew was soaking, he's such a little sponge because of his low immune system. He was getting more toxicity in his body from the off-gassing of the carpet. So, I mean, that just goes to show the toxic world that we're living in. Who would have known, right? That you'd think brand new carpet, awesome. No, when I see carpet, I like run the other way. I want hardwood floors and tile everywhere in my house, because it's the most, it's the best for our kids because it's easy to clean and you don't have to worry about any sort of toxicity. Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow. And see, I never would have thought about that. That's amazing.
No, you wouldn't, would you?
Yeah, no. And thank you so much, Janine, for sharing in the chat. If you guys saw, she did post the link to one of the Facebook groups where they offer support, and I'm sure lots of resources. I'm not in that group, but you need to follow these women. So follow them, follow Greg. You know, you're going to, if you guys will start following each other, you're going to see that there are so many resources out there. I really appreciated the thoughts in the chat, especially those of you that were saying that they gave you hope. And that is the whole point of these calls, is to share stories that might touch your heart and give you hope and give you the strength to keep going. Anne-Marie, did you have a last thought?
I do. So here's the deal. There's a 30-day money-back guarantee with Isagenix. Nothing the doctor ever suggested to me had a money-back guarantee. So try it. That's all I can say. There's an age limit chart. There's an allergen chart for it.
Amen. Amen. And I think with that, we'll kind of close this portion. If you guys want to hang out and chat, you can all you want. Greg, I also wanted to just thank you for, you said so many things that all of us related to, all of us, no matter where you are in your health journey. And a big part of it is just starting to recognize how things affect you, and recognizing that your energy and your mental health and your happiness, your joyometer is what I call it for my kids, is one of the most important things that we should be cued into, and what's affecting that, just like you, sugars and things like that affect me. They make me not as happy. I get less energy. I crash. I get moody. And those are all things that are part of this well-being journey with Isogenics. It's not a one-shot fixes all. It's cue into your body, learn, grow, take it step by step. And along the way, you're going to become your very best self, and you're going to help other people do the same. You guys are helping us become our best selves. And we just want to thank you again for coming on. And I know that was vulnerable, and you really shared something that none of us are taking lightly, because we know that was years and years and years of tears and hard work and sacrifice and beating your head against the wall. And I felt that. We all felt that. So thank you so much. This recording will be available to all. And I just want to reiterate that we're not here to say that we're gonna cure any of these things, or we're gonna be some miracle, but we do believe that you are a miracle, and that you deserve every effort and every try. So thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We love you all. Have a great week. I'm going to stop the recording here, but you